Can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
I can hear you. I am sorry I came barging in.
Not at all, not at all. We've got a setup, we've got a waiting room, our producer's on top of things, so you are all good. Welcome, how are you doing today?
Hey, awesome. It's a good day. What about you guys? Love you guys' vibe. Like when you're talking, you can just feel you guys enjoy each other's company.
Oh,
Love it.
Legend.
Good to hear, we're having a good time. But
Having a great time.
to kick off, give us a quick building.
I am boring. Corti's cool. We're building a vertical alternative to Anthropic and all these guys, which is a vertical infrastructure for healthcare specifically. So models, infrastructure, serving agents, all of it.
Amazing.
Wow.
And look, we were doing a bunch of research, some really big numbers of frontline staff. Can you give us like a sort of like a day in the life? When is your tool being used? If you were in the medical profession, what's like a real life use case?
Yeah, so as an infrastructure company, we don't interface with you as a clinician day to day. So you'd never know we're there, but we'd be sort of living inside your favorite application. So imagine you're sitting in your electronic patient record, you have your patient come in, you might have now a button inside that cool program from your vendor that allows an AI to listen in and take notes. That AI would be there, would come from us. The general purpose here obviously is that today we have more people in healthcare that are doing administration than we have doctors. And that's sort of a general turn of events that happened over the last couple of decades, where increasingly we're seeing healthcare is getting very, very complicated, which is great if you can access it. But it's also sort of a devil or a curse, because ultimately getting access to it is hard, the risk is getting higher, and there's so much pressure. So the idea would be, could you use AI in every instance to just lower the pressure, decrease the admin burden, and make it more efficient?
And you've been around since 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And what's changed since kind of like the world's gone like, AI easy? How has that, molded the business, changed the business model in some sense? Like, just give us a flavor.
Yeah, so we raised our first 17 to build, we were called Hy-Vee back then, became Corti. And our goal was to build streamable language models that would work in real time. So this was pretty much before a language model was cool. We also did it in a very different way. That was way less cool. But the general idea was just, we need people who can reason. And like, could we hire more doctors? That'd be awesome, but we can't. And like just educating a doctor takes longer and longer. So could we like build a streaming that would like follow a conversation? Back in 17, like nobody was doing that. Like Google's speech was coming out that year and it was still like novel. So we built that from NEE. We raised, from like pre-seed to A, we raised $30 million, and like we were just researching. It was a big clinical trial, and also it wasn't given at all it would work, but luckily it did.
Amazing. And who's the person in a healthcare organization that you've got to convince, who's buying it, and what's that process like?
Yeah, so we're closer to a dev tool than a sort of healthcare product. So we sell to developers who are building cool shit for healthcare. So there's more than 300,000 apps built for healthcare today, and it's exploding. And every one of the sort of classic healthcare tools, whether it's sort of a big machine that you're like getting, or your journal system, or your telehealth platform, all of them are getting AI enabled. We're sort of the infrastructure you can do that on if you want something that's actually compliant and actually built, hallucinates way less, and actually understands what sort of positive means, because it's different to be positive in the world versus healthcare and all this stuff, right?
That's so. I mean, we've been seeing the change. Like, I live with a junior doctor, so I kind of see everyone sees the inefficiencies in the NHS, but I kind of get stories from the inside from him. They're very slowly starting to sort of like change their legacy systems. They're not sort of walking around with like humanoid robots or anything like that, but there is starting to catch on in the fact that we need to sort of start at least opening our ears and having conversations around how AI can sort of expedite and push healthcare further. Where do you see this ending up? Like, what's the future for this realm? Because with humanoid robots, the next maybe 5 or 10 years, it kind of starts to feel like there's going to be some crazy merging,
There will be, I'm sure. I think, so a couple things. First off, like looking around your studio behind you, comfy. I don't see a lot of devices. I see obviously MacBooks, but like I don't see a lot of devices, right? But if you think about sort of walking into any ward, you'd see so many devices. Like there's like stuff there, machines there. They come in with a computer. Like where I'm from, they actually roll around a laptop to like do notes. So my point is, healthcare has way more tools and are way more tech savvy than people give it credit for. Everybody's always shitting on NHS for being like slow adopters of technology. But the truth is just they're having to adopt technology in such a wide spectrum that no other place of work compares. Yeah. And so I think, first off, I think we'll give them the benefit of a doubt. The second thing is that when they adopt technology, it's not like us, like we're like, okay, the Figma or Canva or whatever you guys talked about before, like I'll switch tools tomorrow. But in healthcare, you can't, because when you and we get in, we're lying in the bed and we're patients, you wouldn't want to be looking over at the scanner and be like, ooh, is that like certified, or is that like some like
It's in beta.
crazy? Exactly. Like you don't want the Y Combinator radiology scanner. You don't. You just don't. So if we start cutting healthcare a little bit of slack, and secondly, we remember that they actually have standards, and like us in like technology, we have none. Then like technology adoption becomes very different. So what will change? It will feel super slow to us, but this, I think, is the most token intense, not in the crypto, but in the AI token intense industry in the world. Every decision made needs so much reasoning, and the reasoning we can get today is probably way less than we want. So if you come into a doctor and you ask your doctor for an opinion, you get one opinion. How many of us would want a second opinion? 100%.
Yeah.
And if we get a second opinion we don't like, we'd probably want a third. And we'd like that at every stage. And we'd probably like our own doctor. Like that's what like, go listen to how Chamath in like All In podcast talks about his health. He actually brings his doctor to the doctor. Like that's the fucking future. So my point is just reasoning. We're deprived from reasoning in healthcare. We want way more reasoning everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think token consumption is going to absolutely explode at every layer in the health journey. So if we can infuse more devices, more robots, more like just reasoning, thinking, intelligence anywhere, we're going to do it. And it's going to absolutely explode, especially in markets where we are not like living in Palo Alto or Atherton and have the greatest doctor we can bring to our own doctor, right?
Yeah, and that's a great insight, actually. One of the things we were looking at your website was your model's performing better on some of those reasoning things than like GPT. So I think we saw the stats that it's like 70% fewer transcription errors, fewer errors in clinical findings. How have you been able to build models better than OpenAI for this space?
Focus. So obviously, my point of view, OpenAI is the best company ever built. And I think that will be even more visible as we move forward. In 10 years from now, that'll be obvious. For now, it's not. If I could get pre-IPO allocations, I would. So my point is not to dig on OpenAI, they're a fantastic company, but healthcare has a ton of things that are quite specific that you might not want to build if you want to build a sort of personal assistant for the world. How are you going to think about like on GPU encryption all the way up to API endpoint serving in different regulatory regimes with different kind of skew and retraining and tuning of the models specifically to like dental oral surgery? Probably not want to do that if you want to get to like the 99 percentile accuracy. So there's just, people think like, oh, the one model is going to get us all, but like even OpenAI has sort of admitted it's like GPT-4o is like 4.5 or 3 is not one model, right? So I think the whole sort of AGI hype, I think you guys know, if you get into the weeds of it, it's like much more complicated. And what we see in healthcare is even more complicated because we can't sell a model that's like 92% accurate. Who the fuck wants that shit? So our job is just to spend the time in the basement while everybody's on the dance floor talking about their new vibe coded cool shit, making sure things blink and like electricity is on and accuracy is high and we actually can explain shit and give you model cards and deploy it in a sovereign server in the Swiss Alps because nobody else wants to.
Yeah, cool. What's it like building in like kind of, Europe is highly regulated. What's kind of it like building in a obviously very highly regulated kind of industry? You mentioned that you're not going to want kind of trashy AI like when you're a patient. So what is it like building in that? Is it loads of red tape? Do you have to kind of jump through a lot of hoops? What?
Yeah, bougie AI is not a thing, right? It's not going to be cool. Obviously, like I'm old and I've been here for a while, and like the AI like hype for us was like deep learning, like in 18, 19 was like bonkers. Now it's going to happen, and it didn't, right? And now it is happening. It's fucking awesome. My point is, I've been around the block, and I think for me, I agree on compliance, and I think for 1,000 use cases, just like a lot of the things we want to do in Europe is maybe not beneficial, right? But I think people should, if we turn it around a little bit, like why do we want to regulate? The reason we want to regulate is because we want the consumer to focus on something else than their risk. That's what we want to do. It's not because like, I'm sure Ursula von der Leyen, who I've been lucky enough to meet, she's a fucking smart person. It's not like she's sitting in Brussels like, ha ha ha, how can I block the startups of Europe? Like, that's not the goal, right? Her job is like, how can I get the consumers here to live a fucking awesome high quality life. And high quality for me is not like when I'm in the US where I live with my kids and I go to the doctor and I ask for an opinion, like, first, Andreas, please fill out these forms and these forms and these forms and these forms. When you're done, I'm not going to give you any recommendations because that's up to you, because implicitly my risk profile wouldn't allow me to give you recommendations if I'm wrong. Whereas if I go to the doctor here in Denmark, they're just going to be like, Andreas, sit the fuck down. I'm going to tell you what you're going to do next. That's fucking nice. That's really, really nice, because the amount of like decisions you have to make in life is staggering already, right? And knowing when you go somewhere that you actually can lean on their expertise is just different. And it's not because they're smarter in Europe, but we have a social model, which just means we want to make sure people feel safe and we actually want to take risk from them. So you're asking, like, is there a lot of red tape? Yes. But do you want like the AI from Corti to be red taped into hell, or do you want it to be bougie? If you want bougie AI, I'm sure like there's tons of places in Asia you can go get it.
Can we talk about Europe, talk about regulations? You're obviously building in the AI space. What's your view on the AI Act?
I thought I was going to be a politician once. I really, like when I was a kid, I really thought politics was fucking cool, right? I remember when I was little reading a Churchill book, I was like, that guy's a fucking baller. And I've been lucky enough to spend some time in Brussels. And like, first of all, I'd say there's a lot of brilliant people down there who want to do good. And on the AI Act, I think there is sort of conglomerate of complexity. If we compress all of this into this sort of idea of like, there's ladders of like causality that is like, something is like actually risky. That feels true to me. Like there are things that are risky. Like if we had sort of a surgery robot that feels risky, I'd want a surgery robot to be pretty good. Whereas like I think I don't give a shit like what you guys use for beatboxing. I don't give a shit. So I think there is some truth to what we are trying. I think it is early. It's very, very early. So maybe I would just want to regulate what, like for all of us, it just would be like missile like systems, like autonomous drones feels something we should control. So maybe let's just regulate there and let the other things have fun a little bit longer. And I think that's roughly what we're trying to do. I think it got a little bit complicated, but I don't think it's a bad regulation. And I want to say like half our customers are US based, and US based health systems, when they sit and read the AI Act, they're not like, that shit's crazy. They're like, that's smart. I like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's a really interesting take, because coming from selling to apps building for healthcare is a very different environment than I guess a lot of the AI founders that we talk to. What's it like selling to the US versus Europe generally?
So we sell to mostly like startups and scale ups and tech companies, right? And it's pretty similar. When you sell into healthcare, it gets very different. Given like in Europe, it's publicly owned, it's like tender based, it's like all the worst things you can imagine spending your time on. My last company before this also only sold to municipalities. Like I don't know why, but I ended up spending my entire life getting good at that shit. And it's actually like the bane of your existence. It's like it's really, really complicated, and I don't want my worst enemy to spend any time in a public tender in Europe. Whereas in US, it's like much more like, can you make me money? Are you gonna like bring down cost? That's fucking awesome. You're gonna bring down cost now? Like, that's awesome. We'll buy it now. But like if you're like, oh, I'm from Europe, I meet a lot of founders who are like me, like, so like I want to bring healthcare to the world, and they come to the US and they meet like a US healthcare exec, and they're like, oh, could like my like the patient outcomes of my app is great. It only costs like, I don't know, 1,000 pups per month per whatever. And people in the US are just like, really? Like what kind of cost savings are you bringing me? Because I'm running with 3% ops margins on a $100 billion, $50 billion, whatever, big health system, and like I'm not making money. So like, bring me cost reductions, right?
Yeah, 100%. Wow. You're a board member, just quickly. You're a board member of Danish Center for AI Innovation, and you used to be the chairman of the board of AI Copenhagen. What is going on in Copenhagen in terms of tech? Like, give us a bit of a rundown of the scene over there.
Yeah, so obviously our big brothers in Sweden. I'm half Swedish, so Sweden obviously applied AI. They're fucking owning it. They're awesome. Joel and all the guys, they're fucking awesome, and they're owning it. I think Copenhagen, we're not owning applied, but we have really, really, really good researchers. So they're maybe not as sort of much in sort of the SaaS wrapper like cool AI space, but like if you go into sort of anywhere from like energy to like everything green to pharma, you find fantastically skilled programmers and especially data scientists. So it's nerdy as fuck. It's not as well organized. There's a lot of brilliant people doing cool shit, but it's more sort of fringe. There's a lot more like Green New Deal, pharma, life science, biology, less sort of tech, classic tech, right now at least. But that's sort of what's going on. And like the Kai is the world's 19th biggest supercomputer. We're trying to build it out as a cluster for the ecosystem in Copenhagen, the Nordics. We're running some like all the way down to the CUDA kernels. We're trying to build an infrastructure that's super easy to build. It's partially publicly owned, so anybody can build at low prices. We're trying to get the prices lower. And generally, we just want to power builders of any sort to start implementing more of their own AI.
That's interesting. On the AI front, you mentioned earlier this sort of AGI race, right? What is the end goal? What is AGI? Everyone has their own definition of it. From the conversations that we've had, a lot of people feel that the goalposts are just constantly changing, right? You mentioned that you've been around the block. You'll probably understand or have read around the fact that a lot of people thought that it was when it passes the Turing test, right? If it's fooled on a text-based application, and I believe it's a human being that I'm coordinating with, then it's AGI, right? That goalpost keeps to change, and now when we have these humanoid robots step into the realm, we're starting to see this sort of physical embodiment of what AGI could actually look like. And now a lot of people are saying, oh, now it's when a humanoid robot can sort of operate X, Y, Z and blah, 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 and it'll feel you. What are your thoughts on this and then the future of that?
So first, I fucking love it. I love robotics because I grew up in the 90s and like we had like Jetsons and shit, and like I was promised robots and I want one at home and I haven't got one yet, so I'm very excited about Optimus and the rest of it. I am not sure we will have a ton of jobs. We can talk about that if you want. But I am sure that it doesn't make sense to do a lot of the jobs we do today. So very excited about this development generally, if we can control it. And actually, there are politicians who are ambitious. Sort of a connotation for me is like I like the super intelligence versus AGI. Like super intelligence, like build a robot that's really good at sort of like point stuff, like point workflow. That's super intelligent. Like a human could do it now, you can do it better. It's super intelligent. For me, the most useful definition of AGI, and that's just mine, it's sort of, can an AI fill the role of a human a full day? So I don't care if you can sort of make me feel I'm chatting with you and you're in bot or not. Like that feels too limited to really be powerful. But like it feels much more like a mirage. Like I can also see a magic trick and think like, what the fuck? How did we do it? But I know it's fake. I think it's much more like, how can you function? How can you fill a hole of a human? Can you go to work for 8 hours and actually fill my role? Then you're fucking like probably AGI. Not because I'm doing anything at all. I'm just a janitor, right? But my point is, that feels real and tangible. And I don't think the goalpost has moved a lot for that. Really good at educating us, like just how far we are from it. And I think sort of the edge case is just still, if like we send an AI to work for one of us, and like, will it incrementally compound knowledge by small errors? Fuck no. Fuck no. We'll send it back to training, and like, what, you're gonna do some post-training on top and a little bit of RAG and a memory, and that's not how it feels to me, at least when I sit in memory and ChatGPT, and it's like, it's fucking cool, but it's like far from like, I'll send it to work as one of my employees and come back later and be like, wow, Andreas, I learned a lot about healthcare today. Like, so I think, can you sizably take a large gap of work or a large gap of life and replace with an AI? Then I think we have AGI, and I think we're far from it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're getting there yet, does it? I'm conscious we've only got like 1 or 2 minutes of your time left. Final question, what does the next 12, 24 months look like for Corti?
Ooh, some cool launches coming. I think, so agents will be huge for healthcare, but hey, agents as it is today is broken. It's way too hallucinogenic. It's not built for healthcare. It's not built for safe contracts, safe data transfers. We have a huge launch coming up here. And generally we're in 11 countries right now. We want to get to 2025. In 2025, so between 20 and 25 languages this year. So a lot of work to do, a lot of launches, and yeah, a lot of customers we haven't gone live with. So generally just a ton of scale, a ton of launches.
Amazing, that sounds great. Customer launches, product launches, new markets. Sounds like a lot of momentum and things are going well.
And we're here for you to announce them, right? Just come back whenever, right?
Come back, use us. Look, thank you so much for your time. We've loved having you.
Thank you guys. Love your energy.
Thank you.